What was the reaction to last week's USDA report?
Last week, the USDA surprised the market with lower than expected corn and soybean planted acres intentions by farmers as of March 1. Market reaction was quick. We were limit up for both soybeans and for corn. And the interesting thing is that the following Thursday, April 1st, market gave back some of those gains. I think the key right now is how many acres do the farmers actually plant when the season is all said and done. But again, when we look at 21-22 U.S. corn and soybean supply and demands, it is very, very tight.
Is this week's USDA report key to prices?
On Friday, the USDA will come out with the new supply and demand for both the world and U.S. People will be watching to see what they do about South American corn and soybean crops. Do they lower them? Do they keep them the same? They'll also be watching, especially in corn, is if they lower feed. If they raise feed, if they raise ethanol, if they raise exports. Most of the private analysts still looking for 1.1 billion bushel U.S. corn carryout versus the government's 1.5. In soybeans, I doubt if they can lower the carryout any more than 120 million bushels because that is what they feel is the minimum pipeline. But they also need to focus on China import demand with the African swine fever. They also need to focus on South American crops, and if they are lower, that could raise the demand for U.S. Soybeans. Right now, today, there is talk that few cargoes of South American soybeans may have been bought into the U.S. East Coast, but still that's not enough to make up for the shortfall.
What is the latest U.S. Midwest spring and summer weather forecast?
Right now, it looks like we're going to, across much of the Midwest, see normal conditions for the rest of April. It's a kind of a mixture of showers and also open weather to plant the crop. For corn, April 10th through 20th is the normal crop insurance dates in which you need to plant the corn to get crop insurance. So those will probably be active days to get the corn crop planted, and we'll just see if there's an opening, they can plant more acres than what the USDA said last week. Then I think that the majority of the weather watchers are concerned that starting in late, maybe mid-July, through the rest of the summer, we may turn into kind of a dry and warmer forecast. Some people are touting 1988 as an analog year, which the corn crop was okay, but the soybean crop lost some bushels potential. So that's still something we have not traded yet.
What is the significance of S&P 500 and Dow futures gapping higher to new record highs?
So the bears on the market will probably call this an exhaustion gap, which is a topping pattern. And the bulls will call this a continuation gap, which suggests additional gains for futures. Since the fundamentals, in my opinion, remain bullish, I would have to characterize this gap as a breakaway. Although there may be some back and fill, the price outlook still remains favorable for stock index futures.
NASDAQ futures have not led the upside for stock index futures. Is that a sign of a top?
No, it is not. The NASDAQ often leads other stock index futures in both directions, which has not been the case currently. So I wouldn't use any spread indicator as a major signal for price direction. Most likely the NASDAQ will catch up with the other indexes. So if you have some bearish indications with NASDAQ not leading the way, I would set them aside. It still looks like there is more upside likely for the stock indices.
Why did the 30-year Treasury bond futures not make a new low for the move when the better-than-expected U.S. jobs report was released?
Not making new lows on bearish news is a sign of stabilization. In fact, that would be the case for any market. But in this case, the 30-year Treasury bond futures, while lower today, are still above a 2-month downtrend line, so the performance has been technically a little bit better as of late. Also, a better performance for the Treasury bond futures could be a sign that the global economy may not be as strong as many analysts are anticipating. Also, if this is true, then the gold and the silver markets could possibly be bottoming in this area.